Hi everyone, welcome back to the Advanced Mortgage Solutions podcast. You're with Joel Sadler, and our mortgage expert is the founder of Advanced Mortgage Solutions in Christchurch. In today's episode, we're going to talk about who are the 5 people that you meet on your first home buying journey.
Yeah.
So Scott, start giving us a bit of a rundown on who those people are and why you should listen to
and how
them.
the process. Yeah, look.
Yeah.
So I always try and say that, you know, when you're going to buy a house, you've got your team with you. There's different players on that team, and some of those players work for you. Some of them just do a service, and the last one that we'll cover off really doesn't work for you at all, the purchaser. So let's start. Yeah.
Right.
So look,
Yeah.
the financial advisor and your solicitor work 100% for the purchaser, 100%. And I think we may have mentioned it on other webinars where, you know, sometimes through the process we might find something about a house that maybe the purchaser doesn't want to hear, but again, it doesn't make that information wrong. It just means that the purchaser's already been emotionally sort of attached to that particular purchase, and now we've found something about that security or property that might put that in jeopardy. So the importance of that, those 2 people on your team is paramount, right? Because they're going to have your back, make sure that everything is as it should be about that purchase. Me on the financial advisor, obviously on all the financial side of things and meeting the bank's criteria and the likes, and your solicitor on the legal parts of purchasing a house, which cover off LIM reports and titles and, you know, all the things that you'd expect. They also assist with your KiwiSaver funds. So when the KiwiSaver funds are part of the makeup of the deposit, the only person that can receive those funds is your solicitor. The KiwiSaver is not going to just hand you your funds and then you might accidentally go and buy a car with it instead of buying a house. So there's certain reasons for having those people on your team. The third person that you're likely to meet would be a building inspector to get a building report completed. Now, I always advise getting this done because a lot of the time building reports come along with part of the pre-sale pack or the pre-auction pack on a property, but you don't know the relationship between who ordered that report and who completed that report. I've seen reports that have been part of an application, and then we go and get another report, and you'd be surprised that they were actually talking about the same house. You know, so you've got to be really careful to know that you are commissioning that report, and anything that you've found in that report that you commissioned, you can then use to either renegotiate on a price or pull out of the offer altogether because the house turns out to not be what it says it is. So it's a really important thing to get completed. The fourth person would...
Do you feel...
carry on.
Oh, sorry, a quick question on the building inspector. Do you feel that a building inspector working for you that you've commissioned would be more critical, you know, acting a bit more critical on your behalf to find any issues?
I suppose you could look at it that way. Certainly, if the report that's been placed as part of the pre-auction pack or the pre-sales pack, if you find something in it or, you know, then want to pull out because of something that it's written in it, you actually can't because you didn't commission that report. Yeah, so a lot of people don't realise that you have to commission a report for it to then say, oh, look, we found that it's got, you know, a big hole in the roof or it's a leaky building or whatever. On that basis, I want to pull out. You can't reference a report that you didn't commission and try and get out of the offer that way. So again, another reason why it's important to get your own, right? So then, it's critical. It is absolutely critical.
Yeah.
It's the same, in fact, that a lot of people don't realise that a LIM report that's being offered, you can't use that LIM report because you didn't pay for it. If you needed to pull out of something that you found in the LIM, you'd have to order your own LIM. Really strange things like that. And again, this is why you have your team on your side to go and take you through those bits and bobs. But the fourth person that you'll meet, possibly if you're buying privately, or if you have less than a 20% deposit, usually a registered valuation would be required. And that means that a registered valuer has to be employed to go and do that for you. The banks now have a system that they've set up that we have to use. We can't go off and sort of commission a report directly ourselves anymore. And the importance of both the building report and the registered valuation is, although they're sort of on your team, you're really just paying for a service. So they don't work for you and they don't work for the vendor. They're sort of neutral because they're being paid to comment on the building for a building report and on its value for a registered valuer. So they're sort of on your team, but you're paying them to be on your team and to give honest and straight advice. Yeah. And then the last person you'll meet, and we had a bit of a giggle at the start, was the real estate agent. And look, there's some really good real estate agents out there, but just remember that they work for the vendor, 100% for the vendor. And although they're on the team involved in buying the house, they really work for the opposition as such, the person selling the house, not yourself. So, you know, there's good ones out there that be helpful and truthful and all of those sorts of things. But just remember, they sort of work for the vendor more than you. So those are the 5 people in the process that you're going to meet. Yeah.
Brilliant. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I suppose you run people through, I think we've touched on this in another episode, but you run people through the process and a little bit of a map of the time sequence and which person you're going to meet at which stage and that sort of thing.
You wouldn't be meeting a building report or a registered valuer before you had an offer accepted, for example, unless you're possibly going to auction. You know, we have to get completely prepared and know everything about the property that's going to auction, because if you win the auction, you have won the house and there's no ability to place conditions in your offer because you had to have done it pre-auction. So that would be the only time that you might meet a building inspector or a registered valuer before you've had an offer accepted. Certainly on a price by negotiation or a deadline sale, they would be those people would be in your process after you'd have your offer on that particular property accepted. Yeah, there'd be no point going and spending some money on a house to get a report done if you then didn't win, you know, your offer wasn't accepted. Then in essence you've spent some money on nothing. Yeah.
And I assume it's similar in terms of engaging a solicitor. Someone would probably want to come and speak to you first because you offer a free service, you know, and work out their numbers and make sure what they're trying to achieve is possible, and then go and engage a solicitor post.
And we've got a number of solicitors that we really hold in high regard. You know, they have you know, sort of packages for first home buyers that might be a little bit more discounted than, say, if you're a subsequent buyer, for example. And know all about the KiwiSaver and the limbs and the titles and all those sorts of things. And quite often you'll find that those people, although we sort of plug them in to contact the client reasonably quickly, they'll just ring up to say, hi, I'm here when you need me. My name's, you know, la 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 la. And as you go through the process, I'm ready to jump in and help you once you've had an offer accepted, or if we need to go to auction, I'll have a look at a pack for you and all those sorts of things. So you're right, you know. The first port of call is usually the financial advisor, because then you know that you can get a pre-approval, have a pre-approval in your back pocket, which allows you to go out and start house hunting. You know, if you don't have that, then, you know, there's no real purpose of getting involved in a building report or a registered valuation and talking to a solicitor and then finding out right at the end that you never were in a position to buy the house in the first place. It would sort of be a little bit reversed to that kind of timeline.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think for me, you know, looking at the value that you offer, or, you know, a mortgage advisor offers, is just that Rolodex of trusted people in the industry. You know, you've worked with for 20 plus years now, so you've, you know, I've imagined met a lot of professionals over that time. So that's just a relief to my mind, because, you know, otherwise you've got all these new relationships to start, but if you come to see yourself and you've got these trusted people, then it just makes it so much smoother and easier, and less phone calls and mucking around.
100%.
You know?
You're looking, and I always declare to people, my customers, that I don't accept payment for referring people to their professionals. I refer them because they're good at what they do. And I just feel a little uneasy accepting, you know, a financial gain for simply handing over a name. And when I hand over that name, it's sort of partly my name I'm handing over at the same time, and I want them to have a good sort of, you know, expectation and a good experience with that particular professional. It's just something that's so important to know that you're in good hands right from the start to the end of the process.
Yeah. Brilliant. All right, Scott. Well, thanks for running us through those 5, key people that people will be involved with when they start their journey. Obviously, we mentioned the journey really starts with speaking to someone like yourself. So if someone's listening to this and they want to get going, how do they get hold of you and get going?
That's right. Look, the website has pretty much all the bits and bobs that you'd expect. So from first home buying through to building, it's all there. There's contact forms, there's phone numbers, there's contact us pages. It's all there to use at your speed. So I'd highly recommend www.advancedmortgagesolutions.co.nz.
Thanks as always. Thanks for your tips and your wealth of advice,
pleasure.
and we'll see you on the next episode.
Cheers, Joel. Bye-bye.